magistrates and a representative from the county attorney's office and our judge executive as they lead this meeting, and be with the representatives of our county as the decisions are made that affect their lives. Lord, we ask that you also be with the men and women who tirelessly serve this country, family members that aren't able to be with us tonight, people ensuring our freedom, who enable us to join together in meetings like this one tonight. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain. Okay, magistrates, on our agenda we have presentation and approval of bills from the judge executive's office. If there are any questions, if not, action is requested. While you're looking over that, I want to welcome Scott from the county attorney's office sitting here with the county attorney and Sergeant Penny Water from the Sheriff's Office. Welcome, girls. Thank you, Magistrate. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Brandon, will you read the motion? Any questions or discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Ms. Brandon, you can call the roll.
Ms. Ashcroft? Yes. Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, now the bills as presented by the treasurer, Treasurer Sharp.
Yes, ma'am.
And bills I presented to your packet were dated for March, or actually May 29th, 2014.
Action is requested on payroll bills. We have a motion and a second, and Ms. Brandon will read the motion.
The motion is to pay the bills as presented by the treasurer's office.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? Ms. Brandon will call the roll.
Ms. Ashcroft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell? Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Motion carried.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ms. Sharp. Okay, number 5 on our agenda, approval of the minutes from May the 20th. Were there any changes?
Oh, this one was not to be approved. It's just a result.
Oh.
That was the
No, I didn't make it. I make a motion to approve the minutes without being, read.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. And Ms. Brandon, will read the motion?
The motion is to approve, accept and approve minutes from May 20th.
Any questions or discussion on the motion?
Councilor Evans, here.
Anyway, on the third page, middle of the page, ordinance 14-06, 2014, 2014, 2014, 2015.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion? And Ms. Brand, you may call the roll.
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Radswell?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving right along, presentation, letter A, Matt Bullock and Tom Wright with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet is going to present to us the rural secondary road program. Good evening, fellas. Are y'all glad winter's over here?
Yes.
How has been this past winter, was it rough?
It was terrible. I didn't bring a friend with everything.
We didn't either.
Thank you, Judge, for having us. Again, my name is Matt Bullock. I'm the Chief District Engineer for the Department of Highway District 5, in Fulton County. And we make the annual trip here to Shepherdsville to talk about our recommendations for the rural secondary program. Most of you all, not all of you all, heard the description of where the RS, or what the RS program is. I won't go into the details. If you have questions, please ask. Basically, it's what's called a FISC formula, 5 parts. It's basically gas tax throughout the state, 120 counties. So each county gets an equal distribution for one of those 5 parts. And those other 4 parts are your rural area classifications, rural roads, and a couple of others I can't think of off the top of my head. But those 5 parts put together in the formula. The 2010 census was updated, the numbers over the last year. This is the second year that the new numbers are used. So all those numbers and that formula spits out a number, which is an allotment to spend on the rural secondary roads in Fulton County. There are approximately 72 miles of rural secondary roads in Fulton County out of the 480 total states classified roads. About 15% or so. So in your packets, the allotment for Fulton County this year is about $1.17 million. So what we have to do with the 72 miles of rural secondary classified roads is, of course, maintain them. Approximately $5,308 per mile for the cost of the maintenance. And of course, pothole patching on those roads, mowing, ditching, just the general maintenance of those roadways. So if you multiply that, you get $388,100. That comes off the top. And the second line item there is the county judge's executive expense administrative cost, which is $3,862, and I've been around this job for 8 years now. That's never changed. So no inflation there, and no bonus is given to the judge. You gotta keep that the same.
And then,
I just say after those 2 items are taken out, we'll get a lot of there, so we'll get about 34 actual reserves. So that's why we're here today, is to make recommendations for what we feel is needed to resurface out of those leftover funds.
and Matt was talking about the judge executive expenses. I say this every year, but you are the taxpayer. This is coming from the state. It's not coming from your local tax dollars, but it's coming from your state tax dollars. Something the legislators implemented, I guess, some time ago, that the judge executive receives this funding. It's an interesting situation in which we, the taxpayers, are in. And if you ever have any questions about anything, any paycheck or any money that I get, feel free to ask. I certainly don't mind asking. As a school teacher, I was paid for public funds, and in this job, I'm paid the same way. It's your tax dollars that pay my salary. So feel free to ask any question you want.
Yes, the gas tax dollars are paid for the service. So our first recommendation is regular maintenance Kentucky 2674. Those limits are from Kentucky 44 to Washington Road, where we need. It's about 3.3 miles. Next one is conduct 2706 Flat Lake Road. Wales Run again to 31 EX. So it's about 1.3 miles. Third one is King Church Road, conduct 1319. That's from mile 1.4 to the Bullis Central County line. It's about 1.9 miles. And Brooks Hill Road, 1526, from 44 for almost 5 miles. The last one there is Keys Lane, and that's the full limits of Keys Lane from 61 to 245. Of course, the normal drill for this is y'all can accept these recommendations tonight with a resolution, or you can wait till the next meeting and take action. Of course, I'm here to answer any questions about this program. I'm also here to answer questions you may have about any projects or construction or anything else. I would like to point out that beyond the rural secondary road surfacing, we have several sections of road that we're going to do as part of our state primary lines. And Kentucky 44 from basically from just east of I-65 everything all the way to Mount Washington, Cemetery Road, Mount Washington. There's a small piece in there we did last year around 44th Bridge. But otherwise, that whole 8-9 mile stretch is going to be resurfaced. Actually, it's already been bid open and awarded. Contract will have, so probably the 1st or 1/30 to finish that. So we see that work. Sure, piece of the see the one quote between that work.
Do you know when you start now?
No, because the contractor has yet to tell us when it will start. They just have to be done by November.
But again, if we hear and where the block from.
Just east of I-65 interchange, there's a concrete section there, where the concrete section ends, picks up the asphalt, so we'll start there, and then there's a small, about a 1.5 section, or even less, I think, probably less, maybe 7, 8 tenths of a mile, I think, now I think about it, around 44th Bridge, and then picks up again, goes all the way to Mount Washington, cemetery, right over the lane, right there is a cemetery before you get to the bypass in Mount Washington.
We are very grateful for that because that road needs it. And of course, we also know there needs to be some type of, and Matt, you and I talked about it, John Snyder's here with economic development, Keith Griffey's here with the transportation task force, maybe some type of, and y'all can speak of, alternate route to take the traffic off of 44. Do you want to address anything of that nature? Because we have a lot of Mount Washington folks here tonight for a presentation.
Sure. There's been a lot of ideas talked about for alleviating congestion on 44 and the 2012 road plan. When we back up even farther than that, probably in 2009, 2010, there was what's called a Go Bullet transportation study that identified the problems, and the problems are pretty evident, pretty easy to see. 44's got a lot of traffic congestion on it, so there were some ideas put into that study of alternate routes to alleviate some of that traffic. Two things that came out of that plan that actually got some funding in the 2012 road plan was a connector route from Kentucky 480 to 44. So we hired a consultant to start looking at that, and they have looked at that, and they have about 4 or 5 alternates, all of them east of the school on 480. Is it Road Elementary?
Yeah.
Which one is it, John? You know, is it east side? You know?
On 480.
It's on 480.
46 road.
Okay.
Gary knows, yeah.
One part of that design process would be to obviously hone in on one alignment, and a public meeting was scoped as part of that project. But in the 2014 road plan that just came out last month, there was no additional funding to go forward with anything on that project. So right now we have about 4 or 5 alignments. Some of them make more sense than others, obviously, but we're not going to hone in on alignments and have a public meeting until, again, there's desire to move forward. And the desire would have to be in the form of more funding in a future road plan. So right now, that one is not going anywhere. On the similar side of the coin, there was additional, the Go Bullets transportation study was an alternate route on the west side of Mount Washington. And I don't know the name of the road right off the top of my head, but it again was looking at several alignments. Basically, if you're going eastbound towards Mount Washington on 44 and you want to go towards Louisville on Barstown Road, you have a way to kind of slip around Mount Washington and get there. So there's alignments looked at that, and it's in the same situation. We don't have future funding, and we don't have an alignment to select. So we're both kind of in the study phase, and that's where we're going to stay for the time being. Beyond those two specific projects that were some design monies for, there's no money in the current road plan to do anything else with alternate routes with 44 or 480. The other thing we have in there, the new plan was additional monies on our current, we did 480 section 1 as we call it, which was I-65 to the school. And section 2 was going from the school out to past Heritage Hill. Heritage Hill is, we're getting ready to start the right-of-way process on that, which hopefully is going to be a lot of donations and dedications, so they can go relatively quickly. The other thing we're going to do in addition to that section 2, as we call it, is look at some more capacity for the I-65 interchange. One direction we're looking at is we're heading from Maple Parkway towards the interstates, and you're going to head towards Lebanon Junction or Bardstown. There's additional capacity for that ramp and probably additional lane underneath I-65. So that is funded. We are working on that. Hopefully we'll get that in there soon. So that's with section 2 of 480. For that problem area there is really all we have. So there's nothing on 44 per se that is funded right now as we move forward. Does that answer?
Yes. Matt, do you have any questions concerning what Matt just said?
Is there anything in the money to do 44 West as far as just surfacing, resurfacing?
I don't know.
Not at this time.
There is a safety project that I'm aware of on 44 West, but that was going to be looking at, proper signage, proper markings, maybe shoulder rumbles, the edge rumbles.
That's the part that's so bad down there, because you just be running along and all of a sudden,
Yeah, these can give you notification if your tire gets to that edge, an audible sound that you can hear. That's one of the things being looked at on 44 West right now is that safety project, and I know there's in the initial stages right now looking into that.
When the study's done on a road project and nothing is done beyond the study, is that study good for so many years, or when would another study have to be done?
I don't think there's anything that says X number of years, 5 years, 10 years, you have to redo things. If you know for a fact that there's additional traffic, new subdivisions, new developments, Cedar Grove Industrial Park is growing daily, as we know. I think the shelf life of something in that area, as the current growth is going right now, is probably not a very long time. Typically though, when you do something, there's state-funded things and federally funded things. If you do something that's got federal dollars on it, they have a little more restrictive criteria, I guess, that you have to meet for the environmental studies, traffic impact studies, and so forth. There's really not a steadfast rule in a number of years. We've pulled things off the shelf approaching 10 years and just made sure that the traffic volume numbers that we had were appropriate. Again, if it's a state-funded project, we have a lot more flexibility on moving forward with something. If it's federal, they probably want to see things updated if it's in the 3 to 5 year range.
One more question if I can. What is the reasoning for widening 480 from Cedar Grove Elementary School to Park Loop Valley View at this time?
Well, we were made aware of several potential sites back there. The Park Loop Road, I guess it comes out in the back. That was the main reason. One of those a year or two ago, I guess, did not come to fruition with Indiana. We're well aware of that too. But in that case, I'd be happy to say that maybe we'll get ahead of the 8 ball instead of behind the 8 ball section one, we're definitely behind the eight ball with, all the growth in the industrial park and widening it, because it was what, 4 years, 3, 4 years ago, that it was a 2-lane road basically on 4 years, so, happy to say that they were ahead of the ball there.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I'm a resident that travels Bell's Mill Road 1526 daily, multiple times per day. Is the 44,000 pound weight limit still in effect after resurfacing?
44,000, that's not.
The road's weight limit is 44,000 pounds according to county plan. Is that still going to be in effect after resurfacing?
I guess I'm not.
I'm seeing the gentleman nod behind you, so. I can tell you that daily, multiple trucks from that gravel pit at 73,000 pounds plus are traveling at high speed on that road. And we can probably reduce some of that maintenance if we enforce those road limits.
Are you referring to the road or the bridge?
I'm a citizen. All I care about is they're not crossing the center line when they're doing it 60 miles an hour at 73,000 pounds and they're in the correct lane. But if they shouldn't be on that road, they should not be on that road with those triaxles.
The roads typically are 80,000 pounds. I don't know if you're referring to a bridge or the road with a 44,000 weight.
You go east of the stone, 44,000, the stone pit is 44,000 pound capacity maximum. It's listed in the state that way, it's listed in the county maps. We've got 73,000 pound trucks rolling triaxle above the speed limit daily on that road.
So typically 80,000 pounds. So I don't know if it's something that's not signed, it refers to 80. I'm sure it's not tons that you're seeing.
I know what the ton is.
So whatever it is now is what it's going to be after service.
Okay.
Typically it's 80,000 pounds.
It's 80,000 west of the stone pit. When you go east of the stone quarry, it's 44,000 pounds.
But we don't have any enforcement capabilities. We have the commercial vehicle enforcement that we have to.
I know that you're not going to enforce it. I'm just saying, my observation is there's so much traffic on that road with overweight trucks that you could reduce the amount of maintenance required on Bell's Mill Road if we enforce those weight limits.
Thank you. Any other questions from the magistrates or the audience members? I do want to say thank you very much, Matt, for all the work and all the partnering that you do with Fulton County and Commonwealth West stay on top of all the infrastructure needs. And Tom, you're always talking to Judy Stivers. County Public Director. It means a lot when we have people like you all who listen to us and who are trying to work with us. So I appreciate your help.
Same with you.
So would you want a resolution or you want to?
Yeah, you can discuss later and get back to us either way.
What's the desire of the board? To go ahead and, do we have the resolution or something? No, that's something that has something else. Would you? That's a different one. That's a different one. Matt, you want to do this? Please. Please don't discuss the financial here. This is not what we're talking about.
Do you all need this to turn into this, or do you just need an answer from the courts? Or do you need a resolution?
Actually, at the bare minimum, a copy of the minutes from tonight's meeting or the subsequent meeting that you made a motion on for. That's a very fair minimum.
I think there's, when he said resolution, I'm thinking.
Well, some do it, some you don't have to.
Okay. Magistrate, do you want to go ahead and give a thumbs up on the minutes officially for this? Please, project. We can send the
That's fine.
Thank you all very much.
Make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the local action program for fiscal year 2014-2015.
Thank you, Manager Butchall. Thank you, Manager Butchall. We have a motion and a second, and Ms. Brandon, I'm going to let you read the motion.
The motion is to accept the recommendation of the full secondary road programs, I think it's the day, I'm sorry. What, yes. It's a day.
23rd.
Is to accept the recommendation of the full secondary road programs, 2014-2015, dated 2014 use of funds.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? Ms. Brandon, you may call the roll.
Mr. Ashcroft? Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Westphal?
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. You all. Now, we have, next on our presentation, I am very pleased to introduce Rita Sharp and Crystal Goodman. They're with Artisan Wings, and they'll give a presentation on this fabulous opportunity that we've got in our Washington, which is Fuller County. So, Rita and Crystal, take it away.
First, I would really like to thank Bridget for fixing our computer glitch earlier. Not sure what was done there. So anyone who can't see the screen, who would like a handout, I don't know if any of you guys already looked at them. I have some here, somebody would like them for everyone.
Can everyone see?
Well, I first want to thank Judge Melanie Roberts for allowing me to speak and everybody on the panel. My name is Crystal O'Brien. My name has since changed since you all probably heard my name. But I'm the founder of Blacksmith Wings Foundation, which is a nonprofit in the Fulton County area. And basically our purpose and mission driven is to create a bike park that can go for skateboarding and BMX bike riding for the local youth in our community. I know I'm going to point out some of the men on the panel because I know that 9% of the gender involved in those parks are males. And I know that years ago, Mount Washington was a lot of flat land, and you could ride a bike. Also, it didn't, there wasn't a lot of congested traffic. Today, things are different. And my life changed June 11, 2012, when my son came in contact with a moving vehicle in front of the program. Unfortunately, when his life passed, it taught me my reflection, and that was to be a time for these kids and to bring together a lot of the efforts of an ongoing problem that we have with congested traffic. And so that is my position here today, is to be a voice for those who don't have the luxury of going to the ball field every night and having a parent who is loyal for them to stay with them at practice. So this is for those kids. Now I'm going to turn this over to Rita Sharp, who is going to complete our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you again. As Crystal said, I'm very excited to be here to present to you guys. A lot of you know me. I'm not going to give you my complete resume, but I'm a resident of Bullitt County. I live in Mount Washington. I've lived there for over 20 years. I'm currently working as a vice president for Westport Axle Corporation. I've been there for 28 years, and I did start when I was 10. I'm old and I've been young. I'm also involved in several boards in the community. I work with Judge Roberts on the Work Ready Committee. I'm also very involved with Lynn Moore with the summer work program that we're just getting going through my position as chair of the Kentucky Works Board in Louisville. I do sit, Keith Ruby, who's here tonight, on that board as well. So I say all of that not to tell you how busy I am, but hopefully it will give you a little snapshot of how important this vital community forum is for me. I am a business owner in Mount Washington. We have Club Fitness. It's an 18,000 square foot business there. I'm not there often enough, but we have been one of the businesses. You can see the sign on the presentation. I've got looks familiar. I actually am not real good at PowerPoints, and I did put this together, so excuse the unprofessional classmate at work who does that for me for my regular job. But the signs are everywhere, and I do want to comment that these signs, no skateboarding, no bikes, are everywhere here in Shepherdsville and London Junction. I'm sure every city's like Mount Washington. Club Fitness has one on our property. So I'd just like to first tell you that we are one of the businesses that have run these youth off of our property because they make nice little ramps and they're very creative about the way that they're able to do their craft. Now, I'm going to ask you to humor me for just a minute. Who knows what BMX stands for? When we say BMX park, I think a lot of people probably don't really understand what BMX is. A lot of people think of motocross, which is actually motorcycles. So BMX stands for bicycle motocross, okay? What that is basically, I would guarantee that everyone here has participated in BMX. Why do I say that? Because I think we probably all have bikes, and I bet everybody tried to pop a wheelie, right? Everybody, when they were growing up, whether it was a dirt pile that you were trying to jump over or race over, we've all done it. This is not anything that, people think it's new age. This is not new age. This is stuff, like Crystal said, in the day, back in the day, as my kids say, back in the day, this is what we did. Unfortunately, today's times it's hard, especially for kids in towns, to have an opportunity to do this. So I'm going to go through my presentations. I'm not going to just talk, just so you know. And then hopefully if you have any questions, I can answer them. So the next slide pretty much says what I just said. We have a skate park in Mount Washington. You have a skate park for those of you that live in Shepherdsville. We have a skate park and we have a bike park, a BMX park, because if you don't have one, you are one. And that pretty much speaks for itself. The kids are going to do it. Good kids, actually, this young man actually did a little research after this. We have tons of these pictures. We've taken pictures all over town, all over Shepherdsville, all over Mount Washington. We have kids doing unimaginable things and tricks on their bikes and on their skateboard. This young man is a student in Mount Washington. I'm not going to go into his name, but he's an AV student. I interviewed someone who knows him, a teacher, and she said he's an excellent kid. Okay, so you're going to see a little bit later in the presentation, a lot of times people think these kids are bad. They're not bad kids. They just are looking for something to do. Like Crystal said, most often, many of them don't have the money. They don't have the parents who are going to take them to football, basketball, baseball practice 3 or 4 times a week. And it's very inexpensive. This is a very inexpensive sport to keep our kids involved and keep them out of trouble. They will find a place to ride. Here's a couple more pictures. Basically, you can see that they're congregating outside. One is near the fountain on Main Street, Mount Washington. One is on Main Street, on the street. And just so for the people who don't know, the police officers have to ask them to get off the sidewalks because they're not supposed to be on the sidewalks. The sidewalks are for pedestrians. So we're telling the kids, be safe, but don't be on the sidewalks because that's what the law does. Why do we need one? Obviously, as I've said, it gives kids an outlet. It gets them off the couch. It gets them out of their house to do things that are going to help develop their mind, let them feel good about something that they're doing. Healthy lifestyles, obviously, everyone knows that Kentucky ranks way up in obesity with kids. Again, they become more and more couch potatoes. They're not getting out of the house, they're not doing things that are recreational. And basically, the average is 5.5 hours a day that they sit inside in front of some sort of screen. So that's one reason. Another is it reduces criminal behavior. Basically, we have the complete support of our local police department. This particular activity, like I said, we call the police, ask them to get them off the property because they're making ramps and they're doing things. This is a letter actually from the local police department in Washington completely endorsing the park. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but he says, in our day-to-day involvement with the youth of this community, we see the need for activities to be made available to them not only for their entertainment, but also for their safety. Tourism. This is obviously something that everybody we have, somebody mentioned these, yeah, I see you back there now. Believe it or not, we actually had the director of parks from Paducah come and speak with us to our committee and to our mayor in Mount Washington, Joetta. And they actually built their park 6 years ago. And so I found him just by accident calling all the park directors in Kentucky is kind of what I did. And he actually is from Fern Creek. So he came and spent about 2 hours with our committee and with the mayor to give us the way that they basically did their program. And ironically, it's kind of similar to Mount Washington, the way Bikes with Wings was developed. They started with a group, an initiative, people who were interested, their kids were interested in the sport, and they started fundraising. And then the city agreed to match their funding. And so they now have a very beautiful park. And he basically told us that it's unbelievable where people come from all over to ride their park. So it actually has created a revenue of income, which is not what we highlight in most of our, when we go and meet with companies for, corporate donations, et cetera, but that's something that's real for the community because we'll have people, this park is going to be first class if we're doing it right. And there's going to be people from all over, from Bardstown, and they're going to be spending money in the stores, and in the gas stations. And so that's something that I think is very popular for the community as well. Common myths. Skate parks are dangerous and a liability to cities. This one really surprised me, believe it or not. When I started getting involved in this initiative, I would have thought that skateboarding and BMX riding was just a really, really dangerous sport. Well, believe it or not, skateboarding on public streets or adjacent to traffic is much more dangerous and can produce serious injuries due to collision with motor vehicles. The potential benefit from the skate park board is that it shifts riders from the sidewalk and streets to the park, and there will be fewer falls and obviously accidents. Many are surprised to know that insurance companies consider basketball, baseball, and common playground equipment as a much greater risk than a BMX skate park. Skateboarding had an injury rate of 8.9 per 1,000 participants, and basketball produced 21.2 per 1,000 participants. So that's something that we found and we're sharing with people because that is definitely something that surprises everyone. And that, Mayor Calhoun was very staggered at that issue because that was one of her concerns. So statistically, skateboarding is safer than playing basketball. Another myth that I mentioned earlier is that skateboarders are delinquents, that they're troublemakers. They're often perceived as that because they're the kid on the bike that somebody's calling about that's on the sidewalk or on, in a business that somebody's reporting them, so they get the reputation of being, not a good kid. Skateboarders are a small minority, and BMX riders are a small minority. Actually, it's the most growing sport. I think it's almost I don't have it here, but it's 65% growth as compared to relatively small 10 to 15% growth in other mainstream sports. So it's a very, very popular. It's very popular, and it's here. It's not going away. It's going to continue. Again, the illicit behavior, the same thing. Talking with the director of parks for Paducah, he reiterated to us and to the mayor that the riders and the people who use this park, the kids, are so proud of it. And they actually volunteer. They volunteer their time to help clean it up. The people, they had a little bit of graffiti, and it was from outsiders, people who were not participating in the park. These kids, out getting into trouble. Expensive. Believe it or not, after 5.5 years, they had reported $1,600 in upkeep for their park. It's a concrete modular park, exactly what we expect and what we're planning to do. And it's relatively, the only thing they had to do is there was some some bolts on one corner that they had to have replaced. We have actually gotten several bids, and we're actually looking at using the same company that they use, because they've been very, very pleased, and they have 6 years of history now with them. And that's a company called Swan Ranch. Where do we put it? I don't know how many people that we have that are familiar with Mount Washington. I, for one, did not know that this park existed. I think it's an 18-acre park that was donated to the city by Frank Cornell a long time ago. It actually has a playground. I'll put a picture here of the playground equipment that's on the park already. It's very underutilized. From what I understand, I don't know the exact history, but the YMCA was planning to use this park. They actually excavated it, and there's about 3 acres in the fenced-in area that they were going to use for soccer fields. They did not get approval to do that because I think they didn't have enough land for all the fields that they needed for the funding. So it has sat there for years, not being used. So when we found out that this park was there, we approached the city of Mount Washington, and we have their approval to use about 1.5 acres of the fenced-in 3 acres for our proposed park. This is not, I want to put it is subject to change, this design, but this is our first design, and it's broken into 2 phases. This will obviously it will change as we start to get, as soon as we kick off the PO to the vendor, we will start to have, they will come here, we will have meetings with the local writers, we'll give us, all of Bullitt County, whoever wants to come to give input on what they would like to see in the park. What we did is we have our committee, and we had a couple of meetings with about 20 young men that obviously this is their sport, and we got their input, and that's what has created the first design. So this is subject to change. Here, I want to just highlight some of the cities. Some are large cities like Lexington and Louisville. These are cities in Kentucky that have gone this route and that do have these parks. There are some smaller towns. Radcliffe, of course, Paducah is listed there. Russell Springs, Kentucky. Shelbyville, Kentucky. So this is not something that we're doing. We're the only county in Kentucky that's considering this. This is being done. Like I said, it's a much growing sport. Okay, so now comes to the money part. Our budget that we have for the park is $385,000. For phase 1 to be completed, which is what our goal is to have that completed by the end of 2014. That's this year. So far, Vice with Wings fundraising has collected $66,000. That's our committee. Some of them are here tonight, working very, very hard with golf scrambles. For the last 1.5 years, we have watched cars, we've played golf, we've done just about everything you can imagine to raise that $66,000. We're not stopping. We have about 2 fundraisers every month. We have the calendar full for the rest of this year, and we'll be doing the same next year to get phase 2 done next year. And this is money that we will be giving to the city, because the way Paducah did it and the way we're proposing to do it is that we will take our contribution, put it with, hopefully, now the city has actually pledged $50,000 to us in their budget that they're just getting ready to vote on. But this will be turned over to the city at the end, and it will be a city park. It is a city park, obviously, the land is already owned by the city, but that's how Paducah did it. And with the city, they worked together till the end, and then it was handed over at the city park. So in the beginning, I think when we were presenting to people, we kind of made it sound like, well, you're doing us a favor, but we're doing you a favor, the county a favor, the community a favor. This is a group of people that have worked tirelessly to raise this money to put in, to hand over and say, hey, this is going to be something beautiful for the city and for the county. We are here today basically to ask the county to consider giving us $50,000 in your budget so that we can reach our goal of breaking ground and being able to, hopefully, it's going to be an aggressive strike at this point, but we would like to be able to have everything on phase 1, which is, just so you know, I'll go back to the slide very quickly. Phase 1 is basically everything but the bowl. Phase 2 will be the bowl. The bowl is going to be a little bit more expensive, but it will be a ton of stuff for the youth to be able to do and to use and appreciate, and it won't look unfinished. The way that they'll do this is so that it looks completely done, but they will be able to come in as soon as we're ready and start working on phase 2. And it is an Olympic sport. side is a young man who is at Lindsey Wilson College down in Columbia, Kentucky, that was able to participate in the Olympics as a BMX rider. And so for anyone who might think, again, that it's not a mainstream sport, it's an Olympic sport. And I put a little, kind of rich thing there, could Bullitt County produce an Olympian? This is, like I said, this is something that ton of kids thrive and really, really enjoy doing this. And I really feel like that we owe them as a community to give them this safe place to be and to ride and to get as many of them off the streets as we possibly can. And I want to just throw in, my kids don't participate in this sport. I have a daughter graduating from Belize this year, and I have a son who plays basketball at Belize. They've never been skateboarding or they've never been participating in BMX. But when Crystal came to me, and I was just going to give her a place to meet, really, because she wanted me to get involved, and I'm too involved. I really had no intentions of participating, and here I am, a year and a half later. I've been in it from the beginning, and I believe in it, and I think it's something that we owe the community and I would take into consideration. Thank you very much, and there's some of our riders that went through the parade this year. Yes.
Is this park going to be for all over the county? It's not going to be just Mount Washington?
Oh, no, and as a matter of fact, thank you for that. I missed that part, actually. No, people go from, like I said, people actually travel from all around. Paul from Paducah told me that they have people who come from Nashville because the enthusiasts want to see different parks. And when you're designing the park, you try to create something that will interest people. Mount Washington's park has this, but just from Shepherdsville to Mount Washington, absolutely. I feel 100% confident that this will be utilized by the entire county.
So once you get it started and open it up, just even if you just open up the park space, will there be a fee for them to be able to get in?
No, it's a park just like any park that the county or the city would have. It will be open to the public. We obviously want to have bleachers. At some point, we would approach the city about maybe even having some competitions, like in a baseball, tournaments. It would be kind of the same thing. So that would obviously be through the city. Bikes with Wings, and they call it Friends of the Skate Park in Paducah. We're Bikes with Wings, they're Friends of the Skate Park. We actually will continue. We've pledged to the city of Mount Washington that we will not stop working and that we will continue as a group to support the park, and whether it's cleaning up the park so that the city has, as little involvement in that part of it, as they can. But we expect not only our county, but we do expect, like I said, other counties, surrounding counties. It's going to be something to talk about. Like I said, you probably saw from the pictures, and this is a first-class park, and we will do it right for people that are behind this and we'll make sure of that. Any other questions from the audience or anyone else?
I have one. I'm not familiar with the park that you showed up on the site. The budget is $385,000 on that. Is this place called a parking lot already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a very nice, I'm sorry that my picture really doesn't show that well. It's actually it's a beautiful park. The city, actually, Mayor Calhoun has visions of walking trails, bike trails. This is basically going to line up this park for the community now. There's actually the land included an entrance off of 44. We know that's down the road, but our dream and the city's dream is to actually open up that entrance from 44, which is just beyond the high school and elementary school. There's sidewalks, to the entrance, and it would cut across about 1,200 feet to the park, and they would actually be able to access it very easily without, any trouble at all with that entrance to the park. So this is just the beginning. We're actually, the city's planning to put a gazebo up there. I encourage anyone who's never seen it. It's just right off of Waterford Road. It's a beautiful park with a very nice lighted parking lot and an entrance it's called Frank Cornell Park. And it's got a very nice entranceway that has that on it. And it will say Frank Cornell Park. It's just going to have a bike park, in part of the area. There's actually an irrigation system. We've talked to the city about making a little splash park possibly on part of it because it's already got the irrigation underground because they're going to be soccer fields. So this is just the beginning of hopefully opening. We have limited park space in Washington. For you all that don't know, we really don't have a park area for this could be for weddings out there. There's a lot of other ideas that go with this that are not a part of Bikes with Wings, but that now the city is thinking of.
here.
I used to be on city council and it was discussed about putting a road from 44 over to that. Is that any farther?
They actually, it'll all depend on funding, and that would be the city's initiative. It won't be a part of Fiscal Blings. But we will work with them and encourage them and do whatever we can. I do want to also mention that we have applied for $75,000 from the grant from Land and Water. We were denied last year and we reapplied and we feel pretty good about next year and we will put that for phase 2. So if you're wondering, is phase 2 a reality? I can assure you that with this committee working the way we work and with that money, which we feel like this round we're going to have a good chance at, phase 2 will come right behind us. Any other questions?
Do you want to have the folks who are here to advocate, let's get Park to stand up?
Yeah.
Let's see how many
Yes.
people are here. Good job, guys, on advocating for your cause.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you all coming. Any other questions? Mr. Hunt, I know you live in Mount Washington.
Yes.
If you're familiar with the park.
Yes, I am.
It's a beautiful piece of property.
Been over there.
And we have talked with Mr. Cornell, and he's very much in favor of getting some utilization there after all the years that have been. Yes, ma'am.
Have you contacted Mountain Dew, Monster, and the X Games? Or
Yeah.
Tony Hawk to try to get some extra funding to come in?
We actually got, we did get some things from Tony Hawk, and yes, we have Monster. We have contacted them, and we actually had them sign up to, we thought, sponsor us, and it's going to be a pretty significant sponsorship. And they changed some of their direction, and we were left out. So, but we are turning over. Thank you for that, though. We are, and Mountain Dew, no, we have not. I do want to mention, LG&E has made a donation. Included in our funds that we've raised is an LG&E donation. We also have John, a local company here in Shepherdsville, that has pledged money to us as well. So we just are starting really on going to the corporations for money. Right now, up to now, it's been mostly just fundraisers, that we've been doing. And we're continuing to do that. We're not stopping. If we're able to gain, Mount Washington, I was supposed to mention that they've not finalized their budget yet. We feel very confident that they have placed it in their budget. And if we're able to gain money from the county, we will continue working tirelessly toward phase 2. We're not going to stop there. So. Any other questions or advice? It's good to hear comments. We do have a website. It's fightswithwings.org. Is that right? And if anybody wants to go on, you actually can go on. You can actually donate money there if you just feel generous. Okay, I know I went over my limit. I really apologize. I like to talk. Everybody can tell you that. So.
I'll send you the bill next week.
Yeah, there you go. For overtime, right?
And let's give the magistrates time to think about this and discuss it.
You want us to sit down?
Sure, we can. Yeah, you can stand up. I just want to like on.
You've been waiting on that.
Sorry. I'll get your name and I'll make sure you get one. Thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion to put this 50,000 in our 2015 budget, 50,000 for this year. For the Michael Queen Park. The budget for 2015, right?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to place the 50,000 in the current budget that is being worked on now, the 2014-2015 budget. Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a motion and a second, and Ms. Graham, you may read that motion.
The motion is to place $50,000 in the 2014-2015 budget to fund the Bikes for Queens BMX State Competition.
Any questions or discussion on the budget? I'm sorry, on the motion? Okay, Ms. Graham, you want to call the roll on that motion, please?
Ms. Ashcraft?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Glassball?
Yes.
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes. Motion carried. Good job, you all. And I'm pointing to all of you, I know you two are spirited, but this is so good to have a group advocating for the cause. You want to say anything?
Thank you.
You know, your talking words better knock out. Oh. For all who know me, this is transformed my life. It's just a state park for me. It's a journey. Teaching for the better person is talking a lot about community time. You know, $66,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot. Thank you. To some people, but there's a lot of sacrifice, neglect, and putting things on the back burner for the memory of one boy and for the youth of which we live every day for our future leaders. And I just want to pray with each and every one of you. I know I'm going to forget something monumental on my way home to say, but you have no idea what this, how this is going to change. I was just on a field trip with my son at Birmingham, Florida yesterday, and this little boy on the bus said, "Miss Fiscal, Nikki told me this park is including you guys." There's so many kids that find me in the store, in the parking lots. So this has just been very, just like you saying yes. I'm going to be able to drive through that intersection with so much more of a clear mind to know that I'm giving something back. That I'm giving something back. And I'm a very proud citizen of Old County. And I'll never leave. My work is not done. But I appreciate each and every one of you.